Proof 011, Scarlett Johansson. This is a map of an area in Harriman, Tennessee, the town I live in. At location A is the old Rome Medical Center building. At location B is the lumber yard of Christmas Lumber Company. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is translate the meaning of the Rome Medical Center building. The Rome Medical Center also uses the initials RMC, which is an anagram for Mr. C. Mr. C is the name of a character from the TV show Happy Days. Mr. C was played by actor Tom Bosley, whose name can be abbreviated as T. Bosley. Rearrange the letters in T. Bosley as follows: TB and OYLES. The TB will go through metamorphosis. T20 plus B2 equals 22. Letter 22 of the alphabet is V, therefore TB equals V. The OYLES remains the same. Therefore, T. Bosley becomes Voiles. Therefore, the Rome Medical Center building translates to Voiles. That means location A, the Rome Medical Center, is Voiles, and location B remains Christmas Lumber Company Lumberyard. So a connection has been made between the name Voiles and the Christmas Lumberyard. And this is important because while Voiles is my last name, it was also the last name of my father. And in this instance, it is a reference to my father because my father was a roofer who bought his roofing supplies from Christmas Lumber Company. A lot of the supplies, like for example the shingles, actually came from the lumberyard as opposed to the store. So my father, who will be the main focal point of this proof, at least as far as the name Voiles is concerned, his nickname was Tony. He was given the nickname because when his friends saw the movie Psycho, they all thought my father looked like Tony Perkins, the actor who played Norman Bates in the film. And so my father acquired his nickname Tony from the movie Psycho. So points A and B on the map equal Voiles Christmas Lumberyard, which in turn equals my father. My father's nickname was Tony. He acquired that from the movie Psycho. The movie Psycho was directed by a man named Hitchcock. Therefore, points A and Okay, so now that I've established that points A and B on the map represent Scarlett Johansson via my father, I'll move on to another connection of Scarlett Johansson to my father. At the time when my father passed unexpectedly, the movie I had rented out from the video store was Ghost World. It was a movie that starred Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson. So the two stars of the movie both have a connection to my father. Thora Birch was named after Thor, the Norse god of thunder. Thor uses a magical hammer. Therefore, Thor equals hammer. Therefore, Thora Birch equals hammer. Scarlett Johansson was in the movie Hitchcock. The movie Hitchcock is about Alfred Hitchcock making the movie Psycho. The movie Psycho starred an actor named Tony Perkins, which is a reference to the name Tony. So from Scarlett Johansson, we get a reference to the name Tony. So Ghost World equals Thora Birch, Scarlett Johansson equals Hammer, Tony. My father, whose nickname was Tony, made his living with a hammer and that he was a roofer. So to recap everything, when my father passed unexpectedly, the movie I had rented out from the video store was Ghost World. The movie stars Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson. Thora Birch represents Hammer. Scarlett Johansson represents the name Tony. This connects my father, Tony, to the hammer he used to make a living as a roofer. And so the movie that I had rented at the time of my father's death was a reference to how he made a living. Okay, so now I want to re-examine points A and B on the map in a different way. Point A, the old Road Medical Center building, is located across the street from a building called the Temperance Building. A few years back, there used to be a group called Ghost, which used to hold overnight ghost tours in the Temperance Building. And so the Temperance Building can be connected to the word ghost. Point B, the Christmas Lumberyard, is located at the end of Trenton Street. The name Trenton contains the name Trent. So point B represents Trent. So from points A and B, we get Ghost and Trent. This would be a reference to the Nine Inch Nails album Ghost. Nine Inch Nails is a band created by Trent Reznor. So Nine Inch Nails was formed by Trent, and Nine Inch Nails has an album called Ghost. So points A and B are a reference to the band Nine Inch Nails. Now, the name Nine Inch Nails in turn describes nails, and that describes nails which are 9 inches in length. And so the band Nine Inch Nails is a reference to nails. This connects back to the Ghost World film starring Thora Birch, because Thora Birch is a reference to hammer. So the hammer from Thora Birch from Ghost World connects to the nails from Nine Inch Nails, who have an album called Ghost. So Ghost can be used to connect hammer to nails. And my father, again, was a roofer who made a living using a hammer to drive nails. Okay, I want to return to the map and examine points C and D on the map. At point C is the Temperance Building, which I've already discussed. And at point D is the old Odds and Ends hobby shop building. Okay, so these two buildings are connected by something called Dungeons and Dragons. Back in the 80s, the Odds and Ends hobby shop used to sell Dungeons and Dragons books and supplies. And groups of people who played Dungeons and Dragons would meet to play the game at the Temperance Building. So points C and D can be connected by Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is a movie which featured Thora Birch in the role of a princess character. So Dungeons and Dragons is a Thora Birch movie. This means that Temperance Building equals Dungeons and Dragons equals Thora Birch movie equals Ghost World. Ghost World was also a Scarlett Johansson movie. So point C, the Temperance Building, decodes as follows. Temperance Building equals Dungeons and Dragons equals Thora Birch movie equals Ghost World equals Scarlett Johansson movie. Therefore, point C, Temperance Building equals Scarlett Johansson movie. Okay, now I want to do a second interpretation of the Temperance Building. The Temperance Building is where they used to have ghost tours. Ghost is the name of a Nine Inch Nails album. Nine Inch Nails describe nails that are 9 inches in length. Therefore, Nine Inch Nails equals nails, which is an anagram of snail. A snail is a creature which lives inside of a shell which it carries on its back. Therefore, the final interpretation here for the Temperance Building is Temperance Building equals ghost equals 9 Inch Nails equals anagram equals snail equals shell. Therefore, the Temperance Building equals shell. The Temperance Building is where they used to have ghost tours. Ghost equals the word ghost. Therefore, Temperance Building equals ghost. Therefore, Temperance Building equals 3 things: Scarlett Johansson movie, shell, and ghost, which when you put the 3 of these together is a reference to the Scarlett Johansson movie Ghost in the Shell.
I'm not even going to swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know. And they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Scarlett Johansson was in the film Hitchcock, which was about the making of the film Psycho. The final scene in the movie Psycho has a coded connection to my family members. So first, my father equals Norman Bates. My father was given the nickname Tony because when my father's friends saw the movie Psycho, they thought my father looked like Tony Perkins, the actor who played Norman Bates. So because his friends thought he looked like Tony Perkins, they also thought he looked like Norman Bates. So therefore, my father is a metaphorical Norman Bates. My mother is a reference to the word mother, but also my father had my mother's name tattooed on his hand. So my mother's name in relation to my father equals hand. Now, my mother became a mother when she gave birth to me since I was her first child. So, mother is a reference to me, and my name is Jeff Lynn Boyles. Contained within my name is the word fly. Therefore, I represent fly. So my father was a metaphorical Norman Bates. My mother represented the words mother and hand, and contained within my name is the word fly. So the key words associated with my family are Norman Bates, hand, fly, and mother. In the final scene from the movie Psycho, the voice of the mother can be heard as a fly crawls across the hand of Norman Bates. And therefore, my family has a coded connection to the final scene from Psycho. And since the making of Psycho was documented in the film Hitchcock, which featured Scarlett Johansson, my family has a coded connection to Scarlett Johansson. Another thing about the final scene, the thing that crawls across the hand of Norman Bates is the fly. The Fly is the name of a movie which ends with a human fly hybrid getting caught in a spider web and yelling, help me, as a large spider comes to kill him and eat him. So when the fly gets stuck in the spider web, to the fly, the spider appears to be a giant spider. So two things can be derived from the ending of the movie The Fly. One is the word spider, and the other is giant spider, because the fly being small, even though it's a normal-sized spider, to the fly it appears as a giant spider. Now, the ending scene in The Fly can be connected to Scarlett Johansson because the fly is what crawls across the hand of Norman Bates in the movie Psycho, a film directed by Hitchcock, and Hitchcock is the name of a Scarlett Johansson film. And so, through the movie Fly, Scarlett Johansson can be connected to the word spider and the word giant spider. Now, Johansson's connection to the word spider is through her Avengers character, Black Widow, and that the Black Widow is a species of spider. Her connection to giant spider is through the movie Eight-Legged Freaks, which she appeared in. The movie Eight-Legged Freaks was about giant spiders. Okay, so going back to the map, for the next part of the analysis, there's the intersection of Trenton and Walden. There are two buildings that are going to be important here. One is the old odds and ends shop, and the other is the Harriman Library. So both of these buildings are located at the corners of Trenton and Walden. So Trenton ends at the Christmas Lumberyard, and Walden ends at the Old Rome Medical Center building. Okay, so the Christmas Lumberyard represents Christmas. Christmas is a holiday that celebrates the birthday of Jesus, so it represents birthday. My birthday is in June, so for me, Christmas Lumber Company represents birthday, represents June. Christmas Lumber Company is also a reference to Christmas, a Bible story about a pregnant woman who gives birth to a son. So from Christmas Lumber Company, we get pregnant woman who gives birth to a son and June. Now go back to the intersection to the Harriman Library. Inside the Harriman Library, there is a beaver which has been preserved through taxidermy. Therefore, the library represents the beaver. So from Trenton Street, we get the intersection of Trenton and Walden where the library is. From that, we get the beaver. From the end of Trenton Street, we get Christmas Lumber Yard, and Christmas represents birthday and woman giving birth to a son, and the two of those things translate to June and woman giving birth to a son. So from the two Trenton Street locations, we get words that can be used to create the following phrase. A pregnant woman, June, gives birth to a son, the beaver. Now this is a reference to the show Leave It to Beaver. On the show Leave It to Beaver, the mother of the kid called the beaver is a woman named June. So that means that June was a pregnant woman who gave birth to the beaver on Leave It to Beaver. Now at the other end of Trenton Street is the high school. High school is a place of education. Education can be abbreviated as ED. ED is also an abbreviation of the name Edward, which can be abbreviated to Eddie. And so Trent Street can be used to connect the TV show Leave It to Beaver to Eddie. Now on the TV show Leave It to Beaver, June's other son, Wally, had a best friend named Eddie. And then back in the 70s, there was a rumor that the actor who played Eddie on Leave It to Beaver was in fact a rock star named Alice Cooper. And so from all of this, we get a reference to Alice Cooper. And the reason this is important is because Alice Cooper had a hit song called Black Widow. So the final result for these series of key points is Black Widow. Okay, so the intersection of Walden and Trenton. Go to the end of Walden. It's the Old Road Medical Center building. There's a hospital. Go to the one end of Trenton. We get Christmas Lumber Company. Christmas represents birthday, and it represents woman giving birth to a son. And then go to the other end of Trenton, and the high school represents education, which is Ed, which is Eddie. So to create the references to Leave It to Beaver, we have the ends of three streets. Walden represents a hospital where June would have given birth to the beaver. June's other son, Wally, had a friend named Eddie, and the actor who played Eddie was rumored to have been rock star Alice Cooper, who has a hit song, Black Widow. And so it's the ends of three streets that create the reference to the TV show Leave It to Beaver, which in turn creates a reference to Black Widow. So the words Black Widow can be connected to the word end. And that brings us to the last part. At the intersection of Trenton Walden is also the old Odds and Ends building. And at Odds and Ends, they used to sell Dungeons and Dragons books and supplies. Dungeons and Dragons is a game. So the intersection of Trenton and Walden also equals game. So from Walden and Trenton, we get Black Widow, End, and Game, which is End Game, Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson played a character named Black Widow in the Avengers movie End Game. In the next step of the analysis, I'm going to focus on Trenton Street. The two locations will be Christmas Lumber Company, Lumber Yard, located at location B on the map, and the Harriman Library that I've marked as E on the map. So the Harriman Library is at Trenton and Walden, and the lumberyard is located at the end of Trenton. So both of these locations can be connected to Trenton Street. Okay, so I'll begin with location B, the Christmas lumberyard. Christmas can be broken into Christ and MAS. Christ is the Son of God, which would be God, Son. MAS can be reversed to spell Sam. So you put the S-O-N with Sam to get Samson. The word God spelled backwards is dog. So from Christmas we get dog Samson. Now we go back up to the library. Now we go to location E, which is the Harriman Library. Inside the Harriman Library there's a glass case. It contains a beaver that's been preserved through taxidermy. The beaver is the name of a movie starring Mel Gibson. Rearrange the letters of Mel Gibson as follows: LOMIEGBSN. Change the letter groups as follows. The LO will remain the same. MI equals M13 plus I9 equals 22. Letter 22 of the alphabet is V, therefore MI equals V. The EG remains the same. BS equals B2 plus S19 equals 21. Letter 21 of the alphabet is U, therefore BS equals U. The N remains the same. So the letter group LOMIEGBSN now becomes LOVEGUN. That spells Love Gun. The Love Gun is the name of the 1977 album by the band Kiss. The cover art for Love Gun shows the members of Kiss standing between two stone pillars. So the Harriman Library equals the beaver equals Mel Gibson equals Love Gun equals two stone pillars. And then real quickly, I should note again that the Rome Medical Center located at location A decodes to my name, Boyles. So from location A, the Rome Medical Center, we get Boyles. And from location B, Christmas Lumber Company Lumberyard, we get dog Samson. My name is Boyles, and when I was growing up, I had a dog named Samson. My dog Samson was named after a character from the Bible. So Christmas is based on a Bible story. Christmas decodes to dog Samson, which is a reference to Samson. And so the Christmas Lumberyard represents Bible story Samson. Now, in this Bible story about a character named Samson, the character Samson pushes down two stone pillars. This is represented by the Harriman Library, which decodes to the beaver, Mel Gibson, Love Gun, two stone pillars. So the lumberyard and the library can be connected to the story of Samson from the Bible, in that the lumberyard references Samson and the library represents the two stone pillars that Samson pushed down. So, and of course, location A and B represents my name, Boyles, and the fact that I had a dog named Samson. Now, in the Bible story of Samson, the character Samson had extraordinary strength. If you look at the painting of the members of Kiss on the cover of Love Gun, their muscles are actually exaggerated. In real life, the members of Kiss did not have muscles that were that big. But regardless, Samson is a story associated with physical strength, and physical strength is associated with muscles. Within the human anatomy, muscles are located under the skin. So what we get here is the Christmas Lumber Company lumberyard, and the library represents the story of Samson pushing down pillars. The way he's able to push down the pillars is with his muscles. And muscles are located under the skin. So the final result for this equation is Under the Skin, which is yet another film starring Scarlett Johansson. So in the next part of the analysis, I am going to again focus on the same locations as the last time. The Harriman Library and the Christmas Lumberyard both have a connection to Trenton Street. So first, I'll begin with the Christmas Lumberyard. The lumberyard is filled with lumber. Lumber is made of wood. The lumber held in the lumberyard is considered stock because it's being stored there until someone comes to buy it. So because the lumber is for sale and because it's being stored in the lumberyard, lumber represents stock. So the two interpretations of the word lumber are wood and stock, which is wood stock. Now let's move to the Harriman Library. As I've already explained, inside the library there is a beaver. The beaver represents Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson decodes to Love Gun. And Love Gun's 1977 album by Kiss. The cover art for Love Gun was painted by an artist named Ken Kelly. Kelly used his wife as the model for the 12 women shown at the bottom of the cover. So this means the cover of Love Gun represents wife. Now, Ken Kelly's wife on one day would have been his bride. On the day that they got married, his wife would have been his bride. So the 12 women located at the bottom of the Love Gun album cover not only represent the word wife, they also represent the bride. So from the Harriman Library, we get the bride. So from these two locations, we get Woodstock and the bride. So what would be the common connection of these two things? And the answer to that would be the movie Kill Bill. So first, the bride is a character, the main character from the movies, from the Kill Bill movies. And the connection of Woodstock is that there is a scene in the movie Kill Bill where a waiter is compared to Charlie Brown. They call him Charlie Brown because of the shirt he is wearing. Charlie Brown is a character from the Peanuts comic strips, and another character from the Peanut comic strips is a yellow bird named Woodstock. And so through the lumberyard and the library, we are able to establish that there is a connection to the guy in the Kill Bill movie being referred to as Charlie Brown. So Charlie Brown is the first final result. Okay, now the next thing is going back to the library. The Beaver is a movie starring Mel Gibson. The name Mel Gibson is an anagram for big lemons. Lemons are used to make lemonade, and lemonade is sold at a lemonade stand. So from the Beaver, we also get a reference to lemonade stand. So what we get here is Charlie Brown and lemonade stand. In the Peanuts comic strips, whenever Charlie Brown would go to a lemonade stand, it would be to get psychiatric help. This connects back to how this proof began with an analysis of the movie Psycho. Psycho being short for psychopath. A psychopath would be someone who would be in need of psychiatric help. So from the library analysis, we can also get a reference to Psycho and from Psycho, psychiatric help. So between Big Lemons, Charlie Brown, and Psychiatric or Psycho, we get a reference to Charlie Brown going to a lemonade stand to get psychiatric help. And in the Peanuts cartoons, when Charlie Brown does this, the person running the psychiatric help lemonade stand is a character named Lucy. So therefore, the Christmas Lumberyard and the Harriman Library are a coded reference to Lucy, and Lucy is another film starring Scarlett Johansson. So a quick rundown of the fact that Lucy is the one in charge of the psychiatric help in the Peanuts cartoons is important because Lucy is a movie starring Scarlett Johansson. Another movie starring Scarlett Johansson is Hitchcock, which is a movie about the making of the movie Psycho. A psycho is a psychopath. A psychopath is someone in need of psychiatric help. Therefore, through Scarlett Johansson, Lucy can be connected to psychiatric help. And in the Peanuts cartoons, it is Lucy who provides psychiatric help for Charlie Brown. Okay, I'm going to do analysis of two more Scarlett Johansson films, and then I will do a final analysis of Scarlett Johansson herself. The last two films I'm going to do are The Island and Isle of Dogs. In order to do this analysis, I will return to the beginning locations on the map, which are locations A and B, the Rome Medical Center, and the Christmas Lumberyard. So the Christmas Lumberyard represents Christmas. Christmas is a holiday that celebrates the birth of Jesus, and is therefore a reference to birth. As I've explained, the Rome Medical Center decodes to voiles, my name. So points A and B are voiles, birth. Now, when a baby is born, they are issued a birth certificate. So Voiles birth would be reference to the birth certificate of me, Voiles. My birth certificate was signed by a woman named Mary Ann. 3 months after Mary Ann signed my birth certificate, a new show on CBS premiered. This new show was called Gilligan's Island. On the TV show Gilligan's Island, there was a character named Mary Ann. The name of the show contained the word island, but in the theme song for the show that played at the beginning of the show, Gilligan's Island was referred to as a deserted isle. And so the title of the show and the theme song of the show reference island and isle. So the reference to island from Gilligan's Island, that takes care of the movie The Island. So that leaves only Isle of Dogs for me to explain. As I explained earlier in this proof, Christmas is Christ and MAS. And Christ is Son of God, which is God's Son. And SAM spelled backwards, or MAS spelled backwards is Sam. And so from Christmas, we get dog Samson, and this connects to the name Voiles from the Rome Medical Center, because my name is Voiles, and I had a dog named Samson. And so because I had a dog named Samson, Christmas Lumberyard to me represents the word dog. But Christmas Lumber also represents birth. And my birth certificate bore the name Mary Ann, and Mary Ann was the name of a castaway on Gilligan's Island. And in the theme song to Gilligan's Island was referred to as an isle. So from Christmas Lumber Company, we get dog and isle, which is dog isle. And one can assume that dog isle would be an Isle of Dogs. And so this connects to the other Scarlett Johansson film. In 2019, Scarlett Johansson did an interview in which she said she was an actor, and as an actor, she should be able to play an animal or a tree. Okay, I'm going to explain how this statement connects to the 3 location points I've been discussing throughout this proof. 3 locations will be the Harriman Library at the corner of Trenton and Walden, the Christmas Lumberyard from the end of Trenton, and the old Rome Medical Center building at the end of Walden. So first, the Rome Medical Center building, I explained how the Rome Medical Center can be used to create my name Voiles. In order to do this, there has to be references made to a Happy Days character named Mr. C and the actor who played Mr. C, Tom Bosley. So in order to get from Rome Medical Center to Voiles, I have to reference an actor and a role that the actor played. So the Rome Medical Center represents actor and role. So then we go to the other key point, which is the library. Inside the library, there is a glass case which contains a beaver, which has been preserved through a method called taxidermy. The beaver, of course, is an animal, so the Harriman Library represents animal. Now we go to the Christmas lumber yard. The Christmas lumber yard is full of lumber, and lumber is made from trees, so the Christmas lumber yard represents tree. So from the three locations, Rome Medical Center, Harriman Library, and Christmas lumber yard, we get actor and role and animal and tree. And in her statement, Scarlett Johansson said as an actor choosing a role, she should be able to play an animal or a tree. In the interview, Scarlett Johansson said if anyone had an issue with her opinion on this, that Scarlett said that they should consult an actor named Jeffrey Tambor, who played a trans character. So Jeffrey Tambor rearranged the letters in Tambor to spell 2RMC. RMC, of course, is the initials used by the Rome Medical Center, and as I've explained, the Rome Medical Center translates to voiles. Now take the word 2. T20 plus 015 is 35. Break 35 down to its letter value. 35 minus 26 is 9. The number 9 letter of the alphabet is I. Therefore, 2 becomes I. So Tambor becomes 2 RMC. 2 becomes I. RMC becomes voiles. The name Jeffrey remains the same. So Jeffrey Tambor translates to I, Jeffrey Voiles. My name is Jeffrey Voiles, so I would identify myself as I, Jeffrey Voiles. After Scarlett Johansson's interview, a Twitter user named Charlotte, I'm going to say it's pronounced Clymer. That's the way I'm going to use it within this proof. It's spelled CLYMER. So to me, that would be pronounced Clymer. So Charlotte Clymer, a Twitter user, had an issue with Scarlett Johansson's interview. So a connection can be made between Charlotte Clymer and Scarlett Johansson. In the movie, the adventure movies, Scarlett Johansson plays a character named Black Widow. Black Widow is a species of spider, therefore Scarlett Johansson equals spider. The name CLYMER can be pronounced Clymer, which is a homophone for the word climber, CLIMBER. So change the name Clymer to the word climber, and Charlotte Clymer, when combined with Scarlett Johansson, becomes Charlotte Clymer Spider. So Spider, Charlotte, is a reference to the main character from the book and movies Charlotte's Web. Charlotte is a spider who climbs through her web. So her movement through the web represents being a climber. When she sometimes climbs down from her web with a strand of web, she has to climb back up. So that's again a reference to being a climber. So from Scarlett Johansson and Charlotte Clymer, we get Spider Charlotte Clymer. This is a reference to the spider Charlotte climbing through her web. Now, in the story of Charlotte's Web, the reason the spider Charlotte climbs through her web is so that she can create messages within the web which pertain to this pig named Wilbur. This is a way to try to save Wilbur's life from being, so that he won't be taken and butchered. So by creating messages in her web, the climber spider Charlotte ends up creating web messages. Now, the internet is also called the web, and Twitter is a website that allows people to send messages via the web. So Twitter represents web messages. So by using Twitter, Charlotte Clymer created web messages, and the person that she created web messages about was the actress who played Black Widow, which is a reference to Spider. And so through their actions, Charlotte Clymer, by making comments about Scarlett Johansson and by doing this via Twitter, connected the words Spider, Charlotte, Clymer, and web messages. These all pertain to key points from the Charlotte's web stories, and that Charlotte was a spider who would climb through her web in order to create messages within her web, which were web messages. Another person who had issue with Scarlett Johansson's interview was a talk show host named Noah. So Noah will also be connected to the three key points that I previously discussed: the Rome Medical Center, the Harriman Library, and the Christmas Lumber Company, Lumberyard. So from Rome Medical Center, it translates to my name, Voiles. My zodiac sign is Gemini, which is the sign of the twins. Twins represents two, to be more specific, two things that are alike. So the Rome Medical Center represents two things that are alike. The Harriman Library, as I previously noted, has a glass case with the beaver that's been preserved through taxidermy. The beaver represents animal. So then we go to the Christmas Lumberyard. Christmas is a holiday based on a Bible story. Christmas is the lumberyard is filled with lumber. And so from the Christmas Lumberyard, we get Bible story and lumber. The Christmas Lumberyard is located at the end of Trenton Street. Trenton contains the name Trent. Across the street from the Rome Medical Center is a temperance building where they used to have ghost tours. Therefore, the temperance building represents ghosts. So we connect Trent to ghost, and we get a reference to Nine Inch Nails. There were Nine Inch Nails albums, I think like the EP Broken and the album Downward Spiral, which were co-produced by Trent and a guy named Flood. So Trent, derived from Trenton Street, and Ghost, derived from the Temperance Building, can be used to connect Flood. So what we get from Trenton Street then is Flood via Trent, and Lumber Bible Story via the Christmas Lumberyard. So what we get from the three locations are Rome Medical Center equals two of a kind, Harriman Library equals animal, and the Christmas Lumberyard equals flood, lumber, Bible story. So this is all a reference to Noah, in that the story of Noah is a lumber Bible story, in that Noah uses lumber to build an ark. And for his ark, he gets two of each animal. This connects two of a kind from the Rome Medical Center, and animal, the beaver, from the Harriman Library. So we get two of a kind animal from those two locations, and from the Christmas Lumberyard we get lumber, Bible story, flood. And so all these things are references to the story of Noah. Now, one final connection, locations A and B. Location A, as I've explained, Rome Medical Center, decodes to Voiles, my name. Christmas Lumberyard. Christmas is a holiday that celebrates the birthday of Jesus. Therefore, the Christmas Lumberyard represents birthday. So locations A and B reference Voiles' birthday, which is a reference to my birthday. When I was a kid, I had a birthday cake which had a Noah's Ark on it. The Noah's Ark was placed beside the cake, and the animals going onto the ark were actually placed on top of the cake. So, and my ark had a little plastic figure of Noah on it. So, from location A and B, we get Voiles' birthday, and from Voiles' birthday, we get Noah's Ark birthday cake, and from Noah's Ark birthday cake, we'll get Noah. Noah is the late night, or I don't know if it's late night, the talk show host who had issue with Scarlett Johansson's interview comments. Okay, so to conclude this Scarlett Johansson part of the proof, I'm going to have to reference one last one of her films, the movie Her. Go back to Rome Medical Center. The Rome Medical Center uses the initials RMC. Separate the letters RMC to R and MC. The R remains the same. MC equals M13 minus C3 is 10. 10 is spelled TEN. Separate the letters in 10 to TN and E. Put the E with the R, then add the TN. T20 plus N14 is 34. Break 34 down to its letter value. 34 minus 26 is 8, which is letter 8 is H. Put the H with the ER to get Her. Her is a movie in which Scarlett Johansson plays the voice of a personal computer. A personal computer can be abbreviated as PC. PC is also abbreviation for political correctness. Rome Medical Center equals RMC. RMC equals Her. Her equals personal computer. Personal computer equals PC. PC equals political correctness. Therefore, Rome Medical Center equals political correctness. Okay, now move on to the Harriman Library. So in the Harriman Library can be found The Beaver. The Beaver is a movie starring Mel Gibson. As I've explained in this proof, Mel Gibson decodes the Love Gun. As I've also mentioned in this proof, the cover art for Love Gun was painted by a guy named Ken Kelly, who also painted the cover of the 1976 album Destroyer. So what this means is the Harriman Library equals The Beaver, equals Mel Gibson, equals Love Gun, equals Ken Kelly album cover, equals Destroyer. Therefore, the Harriman Library equals Destroyer. Now on to the Christmas Lumberyard. Christmas is a holiday dedicated to a story from the Bible. The Bible is holy, therefore Christmas equals holy. Lumberyard is filled with lumber. Lumber is made from wood, therefore lumber equals wood. Therefore Christmas lumber equals holy wood. Apply the Gemini rule to the L in holy, so that holy becomes holly and holy wood becomes Hollywood. So the Christmas Lumber Company represents Hollywood. So the Rome Medical Center represents political correctness. The Harriman Library represents Destroyer. And the Christmas Lumberyard represents Hollywood. So that the final result is political correctness, Destroyer, Hollywood. This references political correctness, Hollywood, Destroyer. In the interview, Scarlett Johansson alludes to the fact that political correctness is compromising the creativity and the quality of movies being made by Hollywood. And if these trends were to continue, potentially political correctness could eventually become the destroyer of Hollywood.